consequence of our analysis after 7 days, that one of the elements needed to expedite this process is the increase in the number of workstations. So, all in all, it has a debilitating effect on our ability to increase the pace of this process, because generally it's a little slow, but with more workstations we can get moving faster.
Is the Commission prepared to maybe operationalize the one that has already been prepared in as it awaits the maybe advice?
I have my personal views on that. I would say yes, but I spoke yesterday of the Commission being a democracy, and I prefer to have that being a collective decision whether to operationalize one or more of the workstations that we can operationalize immediately. On that issue of the conduct of our process, remember this was a big issue yesterday, that is the singular ballot box of Region 1 that was not counted because it was waterlogged or water soaked when the container was opened. We received the information from the CEO earlier on today that the contents of that ballot box, at least the ballots in it, have been more or less retrieved, and an attempt will be made by the end of today to have the contents thereof checked. That, of course, will bring to completion or finality the District 1. And District 5, which was moved to yesterday, is moving apace. So that's a report in relation to that.
You said that yesterday, when there was talk of a by-election for that, you had said that there's no provision in the law for that. Don't you think Article 162 might give GECOM the latitude to do a by-election?
Yes, but why? Guyana runs on it's a proportional representation issue, and that's a system of election that we run. And I don't believe practically, economically, in terms of time, and even legally, a by-election is the answer to the solution. What we're doing here is a recount. It's not as though on elections day there was some issue relating to the votes or ballots or whatever for a particular station and you're unable to get the result of that station. The result of that station is publicly known. And as best as possible, based on the report that they have gotten from the CEO this morning or earlier today, that something can be retrieved from that box and hopefully a result can be gotten from it.
Mr. Garner, how long is an acceptable time to wait on the task force before the Commission decides to implement its own measures? Can you say what other measures would have been looked at, such as removing the items from the checklist that the Commission can implement in the meantime? Also, yesterday, the recount process started with Region 5. I understand that there were some issues raised almost immediately. Can you say the Commission was asked to look at?
Usually at the bottom. One, I think the box that you're talking about might be box number 5006, where when they opened it, there was only ballots and there was no other supporting documents. Is that what you're talking about? There's no issue there. The Commission has made it very clear. What you open the box, what you find inside, you count it, and whatever is there or not there, additionally or whatever, make a notation in the observation report. Very simple. There is no need to rehash or to relitigate that issue. We've made a very firm decision on it. It's there. Nothing fancy to deal with there. It's a done deal. Remind me the other two questions.
How long is an acceptable time to wait on the task force?
I can only give my opinion here. Right. I believe that these are very, very, very important processes that we are undertaking. It should not be 24 hours. The time frame that we actually gave, I think, was more than enough. More than enough. I kept saying over and over out here, what we are going through here is of equal importance as to what the nation is facing at the COVID level. And I believe that 24 hours might have been more than adequate. And you see, I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. what you have here, I just was walking in the building, and my walkthrough of the building coincided with that of Commissioner Alexander. And I was pointing out to him that, look, we are doing fairly well in terms of following internationally accepted guidelines in this building. Most of the stations, we had this whole discussions on High Street a couple short weeks ago about whether 40 people are going to be in a room, 20 people will be in a room, etc. Each one of these rooms, people, even when this process started, you had concerns about the seating arrangements, etc. It's all settled down very nicely now. Everyone knows where they're going to sit. Everyone knows how far apart from each other they have to sit. They come outside to eat. They know in the common areas. They know people. Everyone is wearing their mask, and it's now a peer regulated system. So people see there's no need of policing of it anymore. Somebody walks out here like you do out here. Why are you not wearing your mask? Please put on your mask. You know, stuff like that. Don't sit so close to me. Sit over there. Wash your hands. It's a self-policing operation because everyone is concerned and well aware of the systems. So as a consequence, setting up new stations with the knowledge that we have already established and taking into consideration the safeguards that we have already put in place, I don't see it as rocket science. I really don't see it as rocket science. We should have set up and had those stations up and running in short order. But we're doing the decent thing and waiting. But I don't know how much longer the patience. At least I am very close to the end of my tether in relation to that. The other third question is part of the...
I was asking what are some of the other measures that could be put
right.
in place?
Pace of the proceedings. Every single day we meet, we discuss the pace of the proceedings. And thankfully, those other issues or those other mitigating factors that we considered have already been implemented. In relation to the shortening of the checklist, already implemented. All the other things, including spacing out the, making better use of the evening times, all of those, whatever systems that are within our power to implement, to improve the process, we are trying to do. We are trying to do it. And I'm happy to report that a lot of those have actually been put in place and are actually working. You're seeing the relief on the faces of the participants that they don't have to engage in those some of those superfluous activities.
On the matter of the anomalies being raised, throughout the past week we would have been hearing about dead voters and persons who would have migrated, and the coalition particularly would have been saying, and to some extent producing death certificates rather, and make mention of immigration records and what's not more. I'm wondering, as a commissioner, as a lawyer, how accessible are these records? Can they be used in this way? The immigration records too, how accessible are these records to the party and the public generally?
Accessibility to records, let me compartmentalize it. As you know, the General Register Office is the custodian of records in relation to births and deaths and marriages. That is an agency under the control of a government department. Immigration records, similarly, are the custodian of those records is the Central Passport and Immigration Office, a branch of the Guyana Police Force, which is also under the aegis of a government agency. Those records, like your tax records, etc., ought not to be released without proper channels being going through. In fact, as late as this morning, I made an inquiry in my personal capacity as to the availability of services at the GRO, and I'm told that it's closed. Now, let me fast forward to what's actually happening here. There aren't very many instances where actual documents are produced.
There is a video out there.
Right, of a birth certificate. Right. Death certificate, sorry. Yes, I've seen those. And of course, as isolated as those incidents may be, I am concerned as to who has access to those documents and whether those documents are being accessed for nefarious reasons. What is more egregious, I believe, is the immigration records, because the police is a part of the immigration is part of the police. And I have seen an attempt yesterday in one of these stations where one of the representatives of the APNU plus AFC sought to produce a document purportedly emanating from the immigration department. Funny enough, one of the other representatives in the room criticized the document as saying it's so poorly constructed that a 4-year-old could have done same.
Generally, can a party access this document?
No, but that's what I'm going to say. Whether it is produced properly or not, it ought not to be in the hands. Official records of travel of any person ought not to be in the hands. That's why you have, and you've asked me to address this issue as a lawyer as well, that's why you have provisions in the law to make applications to the court, perhaps even, to have records disclosed, records of a certain kind disclosed by official sources. That is why you have a whole Information Act. And there's a Commission of Information, or was, I'm not sure if the office still exists, to actually deal with those specific issues. And it is worrisome to see persons purporting to have those documents in their hand, whether they are legitimate or not. The mere fact that they may have access to it is of cause for concern.
But would GECOM be taking those documents into consideration at the end of this entire exercise when the Commission is expected to deliberate on the observation report?
Not as far as I'm aware. The contents of the observation report is one thing. The statements of recount refer to the results of elections, and as far as I'm concerned, what the statements of recount will be the results of the elections.
No, but apart from the results of the elections contained in the SORs, the instances of the observation reports, the Commission, I remember, said that they would deal with it at some point in time in the future. Would the Commission also be looking at these issues as access to records and whatnot?
Well, access to records, etc.
Or even taking the records?
I am not aware that the records are being produced to the Commission, because that was the issue yesterday. Whether that document that the party rep had in her possession was going to be appended to the statement of recount, the observation report. Well, the statement is a three-part document which forms the report of every station: the SOR, the observation report, and the ballot box checklist, which is now amended. So the question was whether that document that the party rep had in her possession would have been accepted by the supervisor of the station and form part of that. By the time clarity was sought on it, the party rep quite quickly retrieved the document and refused to tender it after that. Why is another story.
But over the past week, do we have any records forming part of it?
Not as far as I'm aware, no.
So is the Commission likely to ask for those records? I mean, these are allegations being levied, and I'm assuming that the parties would want to tender that at some point to have maybe, or the Commission would need to scrutinize those documents in an effort to investigate these allegations.
It's not the Commission's place to investigate those allegations. The investigation of those allegations, respectfully, is the domain of the courts, and all of the case law related to the conduct of elections, etc., speak to those to investigations or interrogations of those kinds of activities to be done by the court, not at the commission level.
So then I keep bringing up this question as to what is the relevance of having an observation report if the commission is not going to deliberate on it at any point in time. One of the commissioners, Mr. Alexander, would have said that at the end, say for example, Region 1 is at that ending point, they've concluded maybe all of the boxes with the exception of that one. That report, along with the observation report, would be sent to the commission for deliberation. So I'm asking,
like I said, that perhaps is Commissioner Alexander's view on it, and I don't share that view. I believe that the statements of recount are the conclusive evidence of the result of the election in our contemplation, and that is what focus should be on.
But the question remains, what obtains with these reports at the end of the day?
As I've said, let me answer you. As I've said, the observation reports contemplated at the inception that you open a ballot box, or you get a ballot box, and there were no party seals. Make a note in the observation report. Or one of the seals was broken. Note on the observation report. You open it, and everything was scattered in the box. Nothing was put in envelopes. Observation report. To inject, and you recall me from day one objecting to the attempt at inclusion of information extraneous to the process into those observation reports. And it is not because they are included there mean that they warrant interrogation. So not to prolong the discussion on this, I hope I've answered it, but like I said, eventually, there probably is a place for that. When the courts, which have jurisdiction to deal with those matters, perhaps they can look at it. But in my humble opinion, I don't believe it's the Commission's place to do that.
So you're saying maybe after this recount, maybe somebody should, if they feel it necessary or see it necessary, to maybe file an election petition to have it properly ventilated?
I am not advocating.
Because I'm trying to, Mr. Alexander would have said that it depends on the magnitude of the irregularities. If it's minute, then I guess the outcome of the recount. But I'm trying to understand what was the Commission's reason behind having all these information or reports or allegations added to the observation report if it's not necessarily going to be used or deliberated upon.
As I said, I told you what I believe the Commission's contemplation was for the observation report. In relation to what the Commission's ambit is and what it can examine, I've already said that as well. I am not going to stand here and advocate for or against the filing of an elections petition. There are, I believe, a total of 10 or 12 parties who contested these elections. Each one of them, jointly and or severally, can decide whether they want to file an elections petition or not. It's not my place to advocate or not. All I'm saying is, respectfully, I don't believe that the Commission, it is the Commission's place to interrogate that. Simple. It's simple.
Sir, could you say if the 5 or 6 workstations are to be
as many
added,
when they're at, how many are added?
would the Commission continue in accordance with the order which says you deal with the first 4 regions and then you move on to the next region, or are you going to move to include other regions as you count the ballots? Say for example you go to 6, 7, 8.
So you asked me, yes, I think it was Gary who was, and I still haven't gone and looked at the other since then. Like I said, I believe you. I haven't gone and looked back at the order. But I know what you're talking about, and obviously, if it will require a revisit, we haven't made a decision as to how the new stations will be assigned. But obviously, if we are required to revisit the order in relation to the previously agreed upon number of workstations and their assignment, the two went hand in glove. Obviously, when we discuss this and we come to a decision on it, whichever way, it will be communicated, hopefully in the same manner as an addendum.
I thought it was discussed prior.
It was, like I said, the problem that we have is the COVID-19 task force hamstrung us. It has have us hamstrung. It's unfortunate, but here we are. Hopefully we can get that report very quickly, and we can get the show on the road.
Like,
We're waiting, we don't know. I don't know, given the time of day, whether if we receive it even now, if the chairman will be inclined to call a meeting. But we're here all day, almost like the good comedy show says, we're here all week. If a meeting is called, we can discuss it now and implement the decisions. We're chomping at the bit to get it done.
I think yesterday Kemal had asked a question about the SOPs in your possession, and if he had cited a few numbers,
right?
You committed to check for them before. Were you able to do?
I haven't.
With the recount?
I haven't, but only this morning I have retrieved the entirety of the statements of poll that I have in my possession and that I have in my custody, and I have them sitting next to the SORs now. I probably will sift through them if time permits overnight and do that, because I'm anxious to provide that for you as well.
Assuming that you do get permission to set up the additional workstations, can you say what impact specifically it would have on the timeline? Would you be completely within the timeline, or would you still require a few days more on the 25 days?
The longer we take to implement or to install new workstations, the longer it will take to take effect.
Tomorrow, let's assume from tomorrow. Would you be able to complete the recount within the 25
Practically,
days?
I don't think so. You're probably looking at least a few days, but I'm trying, like I said before, I am hoping, I'm very hopeful, I'm not getting younger every day. I'm hoping that we can have this wrapped up in as close as possible to the previously earmarked timeline.
But even with the new stations, you may need a few more days. That's what I'm trying to clarify.
Perhaps. I mean, the maths is there. Like I said, the three factors: number of hours per day, time it takes for a box, number of workstations. You don't go outside of that. And if those are the three variables, and one shifts, or two shifts, or three shifts, then you can do the math.
Mr. Conrad, you're saying that it's the court's domain to handle these observations. I think what I'm indirectly getting is that you as a commissioner would advocate for this recount process to effectively ignore the observations and not investigate them for the purpose of this recount.
I wouldn't want to use the word ignore, but I will not use the word ignore, but I'll rely on what I've said earlier on in relation to Ms. Marshall's question as to what I believe is our ambit and what part or what role those observation reports play in the process.
So what should be done with the report? Just for clarity, like
During the recount.
And after the recount. Like what should be done with them?
But
Not
for
address
me,
them in the recount.
For me, they are not as meaningful perhaps. After every election, there's usually a retreat to discuss all that happened in the election, etc. Maybe they can play a pivotal part there. I've also suggested another role that they may play. Yesterday you asked about, I'm not sure which one of you asked about blacklisting. That was a particular term that was used. Was it you? About blacklisting of staff. Perhaps they can be used for that and quality control measures in relation to our staffing complement and all that. There are many uses. All I'm saying is that they really have no central place in the determination of the election results.
But Mr. Conrad, you are one of the commissioners who had advocated, following the Mingo declarations, that our government should not be sworn in on any fraudulent result.
Right?
Now we have allegations which say that maybe the elections were not credible. And you're saying, let's have the recount. Let's use the results, and then later we look at the observations, which could determine that this election was not credible.
They are just what you said. They are just what you said, Mr. King. They are allegations, and as we stand here, there has been no provision of proof. There has been no provision of proof. This morning, as late as this morning, I don't want to get into the anecdotal of, because I can stand here and give you examples all day. You've had objections to persons voting because they were of a particular religious persuasion. That happened yesterday.
So that's true, the Jehovah's Witness?
Yes, it was true. You know, if it wasn't as serious as it is, it would have been considered as humorous. That actually happened in a station. This morning, questions were being raised, or allegations were being made that, look, I know those persons weren't in the area on that day. Those are allegations. That's all they are, and without proof. You've also seen on the other side, there are a plethora of videos, persons posting on social media to say, look, they said I am dead, I am here and I'm alive and I'm voted. What do you do with that? What does GECOM do with that? Do we put it all in a room and hold and have some sort of inquisition, and when we're done next 5 years, declare a result? We can't do that.
Putting aside the dead and putting aside the migrants, one commissioner pointed to a situation where they had more ballots than people marked as voted. Now, say for example, they amounted to to thousands at the end of this process. Do you think that the report should still be ignored?
First of all,
interest of transparency?
I wouldn't hypothesize on the numbers that they could amount to. But like that example you just said, yesterday I was in the tabulation center when one of those issues was raised. It's clear there are a multitude of reasons why there was one statement of recount that was tabulated yesterday that had 2 persons on the list of electors and 4 persons voted. Why? Persons don't want to vote in an empty place. You have certificates of employment. You have GECOM staff who are entitled by law to vote at a polling place or polling station where they are not registered to vote. So, for example,
but records would be
there. Exactly.
Support search. I think that was considered as well.
Right. So that's it. All right.
In the sense that they were considered that the documents were absent, not that they were present. That there was no account for whoever voted.
What I
That's the
believe,
impression I got.
What I believe occurred is that it was not recorded on the observation report, and I believe that there has been some query to that. But these are, like I said, I could stand here and deal with anecdotal instances, but that doesn't. I'm concerned with having this process concluded in a timely and efficient manner. We could look at all of those things at the appropriate time, but I'm sure of what I said earlier.
Is there an option for this court to decide reversion to SFB or by-election? Is there another option?
Yeah, come on. I'm not sure if you missed that one. I said that as far as I'm presently advised, an attempt will be made this afternoon to count it.
Oh, I must have missed that.
I know, it's too close to lunch, eh? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.